Well, cool. We'll go ahead and get started today. Really appreciate you jumping on here. And the thing that I like to remind folks about these webinars, because we put on a lot, and it's all about education. You know, this webinar today, all the webinars that we do, or lunch and learns that we do, is for you. And we thank you very much for joining us today, because I know your time is very valuable. So please ask questions along the way. As me and the team that'll be presenting today, we are going to be monitoring the chat, but heck, we're all pretty used to video conferencing. Feel free to come off mute and ask the questions away. So this is all about you. So let's get right into it. Let's meet our presenters today. So my name is Ben Grimion. I am the Senior Account Executive here at Davenport Group. I cover our South Central Territory. Been doing this at Davenport Group for about 13 years. Prior to that, I worked at Dell Computers for 10 years. Just have a lot of experience of a lot of different IT infrastructures across the board, and really happy to talk with you today. And then I think that we also have Ben Smoker on here with us.
Yes, good morning, everyone. I have been with Davenport Group for nearly 6 years now. I'm a 35-year veteran of the IT industry. I'll be covering now in my normal job with Davenport Group, I cover all things across the data center usually, but today I'll be having a specific focus on Davenport Group's cybersecurity, both products and services that we have. You may not know a lot about our cybersecurity practice. By way of cybersecurity, early in my career, for a period of time, I was the sysadmin and IT trainer for the Prime Minister of Australia, working in the Parliament House of Australia. So if you think of the security requirements around a role like that, and then later in my career, I also managed a top secret data center for the Australian federal government on a military base in Australia. One of my customers in that role was the massive American military subcontractor Lockheed Martin. So I've always had a passion for cybersecurity, and today I'll be speaking a little about how Davenport Group can help you with your cybersecurity needs. Thank you, Ben.
Perfect, thanks. We also have Nick Baxter on here from America First, or First American, sorry.
First American, thank you,
yes.
Ben. Yeah, we're a wholly owned subsidiary of City National Bank domestically out of California, and then ultimately our global parent company is the Royal Bank of Canada, so multi-trillion-dollar bank out of Toronto. But yeah, I'm celebrating my 15th season with First American. Been customizing lease and finance options for folks, Fortune 5,000 companies over the last 15 years. You know, a lot of different reasons that folks choose to lease or finance. Hopefully we'll share some tactics around creating certainty around budgets with those. But for some, it's an asset management goal. For others, it's a tax and accounting game. But in the days of technology pricing volatility, let's try to make sure that you can add some type of certainty around folks' budgets as we're, you know, really fighting and trying to maximize what we can do with our allocations each year. So thank you for having me, Ben.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we love having you, and we love having all of you on here today. So let's get right into it. So when it comes to business technology and IT strategy, Davenport Group makes it simple, and we focus on 4 pillars: infrastructure, cloud applications, cybersecurity, and managed services. This is what we will go over today, and how we can help you in your IT strategy, considering these pillars in your own organizations. We will also go over the recent dramatic price increases we've seen, and will honestly continue to see 2026 and beyond. And what are some strategies you can take to maybe stretch your budgets, because we didn't plan for this. So, and I'll be honest, I've been doing this for 23 years, like I mentioned, and I have seen nothing like this before. So it's definitely going to take some planning. It's going to take some options, and it's going to take some folks here at Davenport Group that can help you out. So let's get into it. So infrastructure. For the longest time, infrastructure was anything that sits, you know, in the rack with blinky lights or on the user's desk in their PCs. But it's expanded way beyond that to where your organization's infrastructure spreads across multiple locations, data centers, clouds, users' homes now. And you as an IT team have to support this. And that is where we have evolved as well as an IT solution provider. Since the beginning of Davenport Group in 2001, we have architected best-in-class on-prem data center solutions, and I'm sure we've done that for many of you on here today. Over the years, we've consistently listened to our customers on what they're looking for us to additionally help. And we've expanded and continue to expand our offerings when it comes to infrastructure. We do this through our discovery and data collection with such tools as Live Optics, RV tools, and then we truly collaborate with you to architect the right solution for your team. We're solely focused on that long-term partnership and with your organization. So we deliver modern IT infrastructure solutions that we stand behind 100%. And I'm sure there's many people on this call today that can back that up. We've recently expanded our offerings too. So this is we have a comprehensive offering when it comes to data center solutions with best-in-class server partners, Dell, Lenovo, and Cisco. Networking partners, Cisco, Extreme Networks, Fortinet, storage solutions from Dell and Pure Storage, backup and data security solutions with Dell, Veeam, and Rubrik, all the way down to end user with Dell and Lenovo PCs. And we work with our financing partners like Nick Baxter from First American to come up with finance solutions that fit your organization. And Nick will be going over a lot of those options later on in the presentation because, we build these solutions, we collaborate on them together, but sometimes there needs to be some flexible options to actually get those funded. And that's what Nick will go over later on. Now, if you're looking to get out of the on-prem infrastructure business, we've vastly expanded our capabilities around cloud infrastructure with our experienced engineering team that can help you not only move to the cloud, but also optimize your infrastructure to work efficiently in the cloud. This has been a popular move given the uncertainty of hardware components pricing this year and beyond. And I actually have Shane Raymond on here with me. Shane is Director of IT at one of our longtime customers, Accelerate Energy. To give you a little backstory, we started working with Accelerate back in 2016. I can't believe it's almost been 10 years that we've worked together. And we started our relationship by implementing a 3-node Hyper-V cluster with Dell Compellent Storage to replace their older Hyper-V cluster. Since then, Accelerate Energy has evolved. And we've been there every step of the way of this to help them with this evolution. And our latest engagement was actually a huge undertaking for both of our organizations in moving almost all the Accelerate Energy infrastructure to the cloud. Shane, could you share with us your experience in working with us on that project?
Absolutely. When we started that project, right, we had two pretty simple goals in mind, right? One, if there was a service in the cloud that we could take advantage of that would empower our users to work more efficiently, we wanted to adopt that, roll that change out to our end users and move that forward. Secondly, if we had an application or a service that did not have something like for like in the cloud, we wanted to spin up infrastructure in Azure for us specifically to meet that demand. A lot of that was driven by our IPO that we went through in 2022, as well as just the output of COVID. Coming out of the pandemic, we heard from our own user base, from our customers, right, that at the end of the day, some of the things going back to an on-prem data center and trying to navigate that globally was a bit of a challenge, right? SD-WAN wasn't really something that was an option for us. So we needed to find a solution that made sense. It was really a logical leap for us to come back to Davenport. As Ben mentioned, we've been working with Davenport Group for over 10 years. There are times that I feel like they know our data center better than we do within our infrastructure team. We have a very intimate partnership with them. We rely incredibly heavily on the expertise of their cloud team, even leveraging them to help us understand, as we are moving things into the cloud. Obviously, this is a shift from CapEx expense to OpEx. What does that actually mean for our budgeting? How do we anticipate and plan for this? Leveraging things like reserved instances, leveraging our existing Microsoft licensing that we had for on-prem solutions and translating that into reserved instances for the cloud. It was a long journey for us. Took us a little over a year, right, to do a full shift into the cloud. But I can happily say that our adoption of technology was greatly improved by that shift. It's been a game changer for us operating cloud first.
So one of the things that a lot of folks look at when moving into the cloud is that user experience. What's the feedback been from your users?
It was an instant success for us. I'll give an example of that. Right, we have part of our business, right, is operating a fleet of vessels that move around the globe. One of the things that operate on those ships, both onshore and offshore for us, is a maintenance and management system, an MMS. We needed to find a way to where we were not having users come back to our primary data center, which is located in North Houston, if they were, say, sitting in Singapore or sitting in the UAE, right? The use of that application in that environment was pretty terrible. And people were definitely, our customers were telling us, hey, we need to find some better way to do this. We worked with Davenport Group to find a solution to do that in the cloud. We ended up landing on using Azure Virtual Desktop, deploying an AVD environment for that application. And ever since then, our adoption of that application, our feedback on that application has been nothing but positive. Where it used to take, say, a half an hour to try to upload documents into the system, into the application, you're now taking a matter of less than a minute. And we're talking, this is in, documents that are 30, 40 plus pages long, schematics on drawings, or on vessel components and things like that. So it was a huge improvement for us.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing. And if anybody has any questions for Shane, feel free to put them in the chat. Shane will stay on here to answer those, or heck, I may connect y'all and follow up with them later. So thanks for sharing that today, Shane.
Thanks, Ben.
So how do we get started on something like that? I already talked about how we start with live optics or RV tools in building an infrastructure, an on-prem infrastructure. But a lot of people come to us and say, how do we get started to move to the cloud? And that's something we even take RV tools. If you have a VMware environment, just provide an RV tools output. And we're able to take that data, work in the Azure calculator, and actually give what you're looking at here. And then from there, we'll just schedule a call to go over that report, make sure everything looks right, because that's showing your monthly estimate in running all your workloads in an Azure instance. And then we'll scope out whatever type of professional services engagement might be needed to, if you want to just do a lift and shift of the VMs from on-prem to the cloud, or if you want us to help you optimize those virtual machines or workloads to run more cloud native. And so that's it to get everything kind of going from there. So let's talk about cloud applications. Our cloud applications engineering team is not only going to help you build out and optimize and configure your new cloud infrastructure, we'll also train you and be that frontline tech support if there are any issues. If we ever have to escalate to Microsoft Azure support team, we do this with you and see it all the way through resolution. It's same with the cloud infrastructure. We're going to stand behind everything that we do and build 100%. We also provide cloud applications like O365 and can offer custom business application development and even help your organization with any type of software integration and automation. Our team has a vast level of experience in all sorts of unique or just your typical cloud application needs. And we're always looking for the absolute best outcome for your organizations. Speaking of cloud applications, I'd like to remind you about the Davenport Group My Cloud portal, which I'm showing here. This portal allows you to purchase your Microsoft subscriptions, edit your current subscriptions like O365, purchase additional perpetual licenses, and even obtain reporting on your Azure tenant, which is the next slide. This reporting allows you to customize how you report to your organization on your Azure usage. So it's kind of hard to see on here, but you can see the report is simple on how you read it. This is just a demo of it, but you're able to see, hey, what's our monthly cost on Azure. And you can even put some tags or categories on your Azure workloads to show which groups are spending the most, which workloads are costing you the most in Azure. So you can start where, hey, your Azure monthly bills aren't IT's budget, they're everybody's budget now. And so you're able to kind of work out that model. And Shane kind of talked about going to that operating expense model is the part of the way that you would change when moving to cloud. If you'd like us to help you out with any type of O365 or Azure, please reach out to your account executive to set up time to go over your cloud plan and how we can help. With that, I'm going to pause here, see if we had any questions. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to come off mute or put it in the chat. All right, we'll keep moving on. So let's talk cybersecurity. And this is where everybody needs help. Heck, I need help. My mom and dad need help around this. So we have a full portfolio to help you with almost everything cybersecurity, including a lot of these provided as a co-managed offering. I'll go in more into detail what that means later. But I'd like to turn it over to Ben Smoker to briefly go over our cybersecurity offerings. Ben?
Yep. Thank you, Ben. We have there's a saying in the IT industry that 2 is 1 and 1 is none. So we have 2 Bens here today to make sure we have inherent redundancy in the system. So if either Ben disappears, then the other Ben can take over. I've been involved in the world of cybersecurity since the early 1990s. It's something that's been a great passion of mine. My first major foray into cybersecurity happened almost entirely by accident. I was a junior sysadmin back in those days. I worked for a large government agency for the federal government in Australia, the Department of Employment, Education and Training. And one evening I was the junior sysadmin who was the secondary person on call. The idea being that if something bad happened, they would call the primary on-call person, a more senior, more tenured engineer. If he was unavailable for whatever reason, they would call the secondary. And my phone rang one night because the primary was unavailable. Very Australian cultural reason why he was unavailable. He was drunk. And so I all of a sudden got called into some strange behavior that was happening on some workstations in the agency. And a very long story short, if you want to go Google this one and read about this one later, the very first ever Microsoft Word macro virus. It was a macro virus, quite famous, known as Concept.A. It spread through the Department of Employment, Education and Training's computer systems before it hit anywhere else, pretty much anywhere else in the world. We were literally not just day zero, but we were customer zero. And the reason behind that is Concept.A was developed at an educational institution, and they had direct access through the very early phases of the internet, which was called ARPANET or ARNet. And so they infiltrated the Department of Education, and we had a fun night, a long night that night, working with Semantic Antivirus, trying to figure out how someone had somehow infected a virus into Microsoft Word. And ever since then, cybersecurity has been a passion of mine. You've probably already gathered on the webinar today that Davenport Group, we're a lot more than we used to be. If you've worked with us for any length of time, you might think of us as a Dell partnership, a VMware partnership, as a Microsoft partnership, and we are all of those things, but we're also a whole lot more. And as a company, we've come to realize that cybersecurity is intrinsic to almost everything you do. Every time you're buying a laptop from your Davenport Group sales team, that laptop needs to be protected. It needs to have, malware protection, antivirus protection. We need to be managing it when it's on the network. We need to be securing the Wi-Fi. We need to be securing the physical network. We need to be securing our firewalls. We need to be securing our data, our backups. Then there's going to be a user who's logging into that laptop, and we need to be securing the user and protecting the user from themselves and from their own human behavior and natural tendencies. So cybersecurity is a major focus of ours. You can see here that we have a methodology, we have an approach that we go about this, and it's a four, in the same way that we have the 4 pillars of Davenport Group, we have a fourfold steps that we go through, beginning with identifying risks. We have to know where you're at today. in order to figure out where you want to go and how we can help you bridge the gap between the present state and your desired future state. So we begin there. And I hope that's refreshing to you. I hope that you don't think so many cybersecurity companies out there and people who sell cybersecurity products, they're very focused on the product. It's like, hey, have a look in my tool bag, and we've got a slide in a minute. We're going to show you basically what's in our tool bag, but we don't begin with the tools. We begin with, where are you at right now? What's your business trying to do? And from that, we move into our second phase of designing a blueprint of how we get you there. Once we do that, we move into a phase of delivering, and that is not just, sell you a product, but most of the cybersecurity products that we have either come with built-in intrinsic support services and managed services, or they will come with optional support and managed services, depending on what your needs are and what your preferences are. So we can become your assistant, your 24/7. And then the fourth pillar is really, really important, long-term partnership. We want to be with you throughout your entire cybersecurity journey. We do provide strategic services such as vCISO services, and we do, one-off engagements. If you want us to do some form of risk assessment, it's likely that we'll be able to customize a statement of work for you for your risk assessment, and services of that nature. So I'm going to briefly run through a few of the services that we offer, and then we'll move on to the next slide after that and look at some of the products that we have, and then open up for any questions that you have around the world of security. Some of the services that we offer include security awareness training and phishing training, simulated phishing attempts. We partner for security awareness training primarily with KnowBe4. Many of you on here probably already have KnowBe4, and some of you may be considering it. They're a pretty good offering, and if absolutely nothing else, the quality of their videos and content's so good that most of our employees look forward to their security awareness training each month. They do a really, really good job. We provide managed firewall services. If you don't want to be the person managing your firewall, and for a lot of companies, that's not an area of expertise. You might be concerned and say, I don't know if my NATs, my PATs, my ACLs are all properly configured. I don't know if I'm blocking everything I should be blocking. I don't know if I'm logging and looking at everything I should be looking at. Well, maybe managed firewall services might be an offering that we can assist you with. We do dark web monitoring for your employees. Make sure if their credentials or information ends up on the dark web, that you're alerted to that. That's very important. We have managed endpoint protection for your devices. We have MDR solutions as well, managed detection and response. So not just looking at the endpoint, but also responding for you if that's something that you need. Email and collaboration security. And what I mean by email and collaboration, we can help protect your M365, Google Workspace, OneDrive, SharePoint, Google Drive, and so on with those collaborative tools that we all need nowadays. You would probably expect that we have a SOC and SIM service, and we do. We have a SOC and SIM service 24/7, 365 around the world there. Vulnerability management, penetration testing. My personal opinion is that our penetration testing is amazing. It's really, really intelligent. It's a combination of some very, very advanced tools, not just script kiddie tools, not just your standard sort of thing, but we got tools using machine learning, and everyone loves to say AI, but our tools genuinely are proper machine learning AI. It's looking for vulnerabilities, and the moment it finds one tiny little hole, it's going to start digging, and it's going to go rooting around in that one little hole and see just how far it can get. That gets augmented with brilliant engineers who review what the tools have done. We provide comprehensive reports of the penetration tests, and we even offer a secondary follow-up penetration test. In other words, we'll pen test you once, we'll find the problems, we'll report to you on the problems, we'll have a meeting about what they were, and then once you've remediated them, we'll come back and do a secondary pen test to make sure that your remedial steps actually work. So a great offering that we have there as far as penetration testing goes. Network monitoring services, remote management and monitoring services, risk management services that we offer, compliance framework management. So if you're someone that has an obligation regarding PCI, credit card payments and things like that. Maybe you're a CMMC if you're associated with any defense industry. If you're a healthcare organization and you've got HIPAA requirements, we can help you with all of those things. Not going to bore you with the details today, but I'm a former CIO, former VP, former director of IT, former sysadmin in the world of healthcare. I've done a lot of healthcare consulting, and I have a subspecialty focus on Section 164-300, which you may affectionately know as the HIPAA security rule. So if you have any needs around that, we can help you with that as well. And last but not least, our VCSO services as well. So tons there. You can see I'm not going to bother read to you everything that's on the screen. You've had time to see it there. But really, we are a whole lot bigger than just what you traditionally think of as Davenport Group being Dell, VMware, Microsoft. We're a much bigger partnership, much bigger portfolio. If we can do anything to help you with cybersecurity, you can probably hear from my voice. I get wound up. I get passionate. For better or for worse, I tend to run towards the flames rather than away from them. But, you know, running towards flames and putting out fires is exciting. You know what's more exciting? Preventing fires in the first place. And we'd love to help you with that with your cybersecurity needs. So back to you, Ben.
Perfect. Thanks, Ben. Always love hearing from another Ben. And you can see cybersecurity is extensive of what we do. And the great thing about working with Davenport Group on infrastructure, cloud applications, and cybersecurity is we can wrap all these up and take care of these offerings with our managed services. So managed services can mean a lot of different services to a lot of different people. And we tried to break ours down into just 3 simple offerings: advisory services, co-managed, and managed. With our advisory services portfolio, this is a tremendous value and a great way to stretch your budget and still fit your needs. We know that IT teams are stretched incredibly thin, and you cannot be an expert in absolutely everything that you're ultimately responsible for. And that's where those advisory services can come in and help. Our advisory services provide expert monitoring and advisory services for your infrastructure, cloud applications, and cybersecurity. You have a dependable team to reach out to if needed, and also somebody's keeping an eye on things for you. Then next we have our co-managed services. With co-managed services, think like we're monitoring and maintaining your current environment, but not locking you out or making changes without you knowing, or you can still make changes, on your own. We're managing it together. I absolutely love these offerings. Ben hit on one of the things with Know Before, where we have that end user training that's offered in a co-managed service, to where not only will we provide the solution of the Know Before and handle that, we'll also meet with you on like a quarterly basis to talk about that strategy. And that not only educates you around that solution and the capabilities and what you want to get out of it, it also kind of holds you accountable that you're utilizing this solution that your company or your organization invested in, and you're using it the right way. And if you need an expert to keep an eye on things along with you and stay on top of these needed tasks like upgrades, firmware updates, all that stuff, but can't afford like a full-time team member, or what I'm seeing the most likely outcome is you can't find the right person for the job. And that's where co-managed service offerings can come in and really, really help. Then we have fully managed services. And these offerings are for you and if you need someone to fully manage and maintain parts of your infrastructure, software, full-time, or cybersecurity, while you completely are in the loop, as well as provide proactive engagement and reporting to you. These services have continued to be another tremendous value for our customers and provide essential support at a fraction of the cost of a full-time employee. And with all these service offerings, they're truly customized to your exact needs. And I always say, hey, we'll do as much or as little as you want us to do. So I encourage you to reach out to your account team for a conversation around what comes to mind when I really kind of talk about managed services and what you're looking for. Now, it comes down to how we fund these projects. With the unprecedented price increases on hardware and some of our offerings, That's why we've asked Nick from First American on here to go over these options and financial strategies he's able to come up with to help with these projects and hopefully get them done this year. So Nick, I'll turn it over to you to go over some of these options that have worked for some folks you've worked with.
Wonderful. Well, as I go through this, and I'm conscious that the variety of functional roles on this call, may not be all finance executives, so apologies if it's a little dry at times, but I encourage any and all questions, because I'm going to run through kind of rapid fire a lot of different case studies. So I think as starters, First American, I do a lot of financing for all kinds of assets. We are not an asset specific lender. We're very much more concentrated with the credit of the organizations we're lending to, i.e., we lend on software maintenance agreements, 1-year subscriptions, multi-year software implementations, but a lot of hardware lending, as I'm sure folks can imagine. So for purposes of ease of the conversation, I'm going to focus more on asset management on the harder aspect and harder, more tangible assets. But again, should anyone on this call have questions around funding options for softer collateral projects, that is very much inside of our wheelhouse too. So to start off equipment financing, not sure how much what the experience breadth is here on the call, but there's really 2 core types of leases or finance arrangements out there. One I kind of refer to, folks will call it an operating lease, but it's really a rent and return lease. Think like leasing a car. These are great for assets where folks, you may have a really stringent rotation on the asset. So 3-4 years, think your basic hardware computer. A lot of customers that I work with like to keep things no longer than 4 years for cybersecurity purposes and otherwise productivity measures. So that's very common for that. Finance leases, software for sure, but very much those long life assets. So think servers, networking switches, things that tend to live either inside or at a co-location or DR site, 5+ years. These are things that you want to buy and ride till the wheels fall off. And that's just financing is in its basic form. It's just a mechanism of funding like everyone's familiar with. So I think this, equipment leasing starts with determining what do you want to do with the asset, and then what kind of a budget are we trying to squeeze it within? I think it does go with saying too, just cross-functional team. I mean, the most just well-rounded discussions that I have with our clients involve some measure of, IT operations and finance kind of all really crafting this lease or finance arrangement together. Because at the end of the day, your finance group may have certain accounting objectives that they're trying to accomplish. And, these different lease structures are going to hit your balance sheet and operating statements, revenue, P&L, differently. And so they may have objectives. So we want to make sure that not only does the IT asset management strategy match up with the financial and budgetary strategy. So there's also depreciation benefits. I'm sure those seen some of kind of the economic stimuli, but Section 179 is a huge boon for a lot of folks. It may be a motivator to kind of pull purchases ahead into this fiscal year, this calendar year, this tax year. If that's something, definitely we need to kind of sway towards particular structure so that your organization can take advantage of that. Other organizations may be trying to avoid debt altogether, for other lending requirements or covenants or other strategic reasons. So again, these are just I think long story short, having all parties a part of this discussion such that you can custom craft the financing or lease arrangement to fit your asset management, accounting, and budgetary objectives. So next slide, please. And there's really, I've outlined kind of 6 powerful mechanisms that we utilize to accomplish that for firms. The first and foremost is deferred billing. I think that hopefully this one hit maybe the hardest with the folks on the call, but effectively deferred billing is being able to place the purchase order, receive equipment, take use and start utilizing that equipment, but not receive a bill for that equipment for 3-6 months plus. The upside to that is that, in nature, you're kind of getting free use of the equipment for the first, 3 to 6 months until you have to start paying back your lender. However, it's that comes at a downside where, effectively that liability, the money's been spent, the money's distributed to the vendor, and now the juice is running. Now the interest is accruing. So from an economical perspective, it's a slightly higher cost of capital to do this. However, if you're trying to lock in Volatile purchase prices today, place POs in January, even if you're not, ready to start paying for equipment until July. This is a really powerful mechanism to do that. If I were advising my clients, the longest I would consider even punting until payment starts about 6 months, but certainly we've gone longer periods than that. It really comes down to the financial strength of the entity that we're lending to. So the stronger the entity, the longer we can defer payment. Second is kind of deferred payment junior, these step payments. And this is much more of a graduated payment. This is nice too, though, because again, if you're trying to capture the certainty around asset prices, place the PO, get the equipment, but maybe start making, over a 4-year time span. We'll just hypothetically say we're doing a 4-year arrangement. Every 12 months, the payment goes up a little bit more. And having that objectively outlined from day one can be really effective for managing your budget. The implied rate or, the carrying cost of this type of financing is much less than the deferred. In that first 12-month period could be a very minimal cash outflow. So again, in the essence of trying to spread costs and lock in prices today, while feathering the impact on the budget aspect, that can be another effective strategy. It's also a really interesting mechanism for what I would consider revenue producing assets. So unsure of the mix of industries on the call here, but folks have long-term software implementations where it takes 6 to 12 months to implement before they can really turn the key and begin utilizing. This could be a nice way to kind of have an interest-only period and then start making full payments once that software is online. I have a lot of clients, back home where they have a lot of field technology. And those are assets that, once they order, you have to implement some, consulting involved, and then they're in the field earning revenue. So for revenue producing assets that, you may take ownership of, day one, but, it takes 90 days to get online so that you can bill customers for the work performed. That's another attractive option. So belabor those two, but flexible term lengths, you want to make sure if you are working with a lender, they're able to really stretch terms. I mean, i.e. the longer the term that you can stretch your rental lease or your financing arrangement, the lower the payment's going to be. I think you will see that we'll call it book or accounting useful life of most assets is going to be pretty akin to how long a lender is willing to stretch on an asset, i.e. You're going to be hard pressed to find a lender that's willing to lend longer than 5 years on a computer. It's just, after 5 years, their collateral that's backing the loan is really not worth much anymore. So there may be some pushback. But again, on the stronger end of the credit profile, I've stretched longer than typical on other assets if a client requests that. So if they want a 6-7+ year payback on a given asset, assuming the credit backstops it, we can do that. So just food to the wise. And then 3 kind of proprietary First American one, just because that's the company I work for, and certainly I would kick the tires with your local lender to see if they have any of these because they're great opportunities. But if you're looking to curb the budgetary hit, FA Equity, which we call it proprietarily, is a leasing company. We have to take back and decommission and refurbish and resell a lot of technology assets. So we offer that service. It's an internal service that we have for ourselves. But if we've never worked with a particular client and you have the proverbial junk drawer or junk closet full of old technology, rather than calling e-waste, all we need is kind of an equipment spec sheet of what are the assets that you have collecting dust? When was the date of purchase? What are the specs? And then give us about a business week to go to market across our network of hundreds of resellers across the United States and get the most competitive bid. We do not take a fee at all. It's completely complimentary. It's just a conduit of doing business with us. So in the hypothetical scenario where you're buying $100,000 of computers and you happen to have a junk drawer and we get a resale quote for $10,000 for those old assets, again, that would be fully applied against the finance amount. So instead of financing $100,000, you'd finance 90 of it. So again, that's just can be an opportunity to help minimize the initial burn, we'll say, of the purchase. New client discount. So for any Davenport Group client that we've never worked with, we offer right off the top 0.25% discount. If our base run rate is somewhere around prime, it'd be prime minus 25. So that's just, again, never worked together. This is, again, we're trying to make it easy for us to start a relationship. And then 6 to 12 month rate locks. I have done longer. In times of increasing rates, these are particularly attractive where you can place an order and we can outline terms in January, but if the equipment doesn't ship until December, the payment that you signed in January is the payment that you start making in December. So these can be extremely effective, especially if you're at the beginning of a fiscal year budget or really trying to keep things within a certain cash flow and have, $1,000 a month to work with or $10,000 a month to work with. We can create that certainty 6 to 12 months ahead of time, such that the payment that when you sign on our term sheet is going to be the payment that you get 12 months later, regardless of what happens at the next Fed meeting, or if we take over Greenland or whatever economic news comes across the CNBC. So with that, I just want to say thank you. I hope this helps aid the conversation, Ben. If anyone has any questions, I welcome them. At the end of this webinar or offline.
Yeah, and Nick, I wasn't trying to interrupt you there, but I wanted to highlight, go back to the previous slide there. You can definitely see that we have options to go with it. And I wouldn't say what's worked well for me and for organizations I work with is for you as IT professionals that are listening to us today, go to your leadership team or county team and say, hey, if we had to finance this, what's the best way that works for our organization? And then come to Nick and say, hey, we need to do step payments or deferred billing. All these options are out there. We just wanted to make sure you were aware we've got options that are out there. But again, Nick and his team are able to work with your organizations, whatever works, because there's definitely not one option on here that works for everybody. And that speaks for all of the folks we have on here. I know we have some folks in the public sector, state, local government, K through 12, higher ed on here, as well as we have commercial customers on here. So all these offerings are out there and available for all of you. So if we need to come up with anything, because I know with public space, the budget cycles are a little long. And so you have to really think about that and know that there are financing options for you, even on the public space. So, Nick, was there anything else to add to this?
No, I think you nailed it, Ben. But like I say, I'll be here to answer any questions today and certainly offline later if anyone has
Absolutely. Absolutely. Nick's helping out with one of my customers today. So I really appreciate you jumping on it really, really quick. So with that, we'll open it up to more questions. If anybody's got any, feel free to come off mute, ask away to any of our presenters or on today. We'd love to hear from you.
I have a couple of questions for you.
Yeah, go ahead, Lonnie.
Yep, you're talking about the cybersecurity with the XDR, which is something that we're looking into right now. Is Davenport offering their own solution, or do they work with other vendors with their solutions? Currently, we're getting quotes from Arctic Wolf and Barracuda. So I don't know if you guys would integrate that and work with it, or again, do you have your own solution?
Yeah, Ben, do you want to take that?
Absolutely. Yep. Good question, Lonnie. We are a nationwide company, which is cool. And when we think nationwide company, you think, maybe we're gigantic. We're actually less than 100 employees. And so right now we're not scaled to provide services like that. What we do, and you mentioned one of them, we've evaluated the market and look for who we think is, best of breed or best fit. Makes a lot of sense. And the horse that we're riding and partnered with at the moment is Arctic Wolf. We have a good number of Arctic Wolf customers nationwide. Generally speaking, they're very happy with them. In the last few years prior to our Arctic Wolf partnership, we were partnered with another group prior to that. And I'll be honest, we tried so hard to make it work out with them, and we just couldn't make it work. And as soon as we partnered up with Arctic Wolf, it was a breath of fresh air. It's been very successful for us and for our customers. So good question. Thank you.
Good question.
Awesome. My second question, when you're talking about the advisory services, is that the blueprint or roadmap stage, or is that a different service? Right now we are in that hybrid stage, with Microsoft, Azure, right? And we want to start taking those next steps, right? So is that a different service, or again, is that part of the advisory where you guys could come in and kind of assess where we're at and where we want to go and how to get there?
Yeah.
I would say, oh, you want to cover that one, Ben?
I can. If you're looking at moving to the cloud, like you O365, maybe dipping your toe into Azure, and you want to talk to us about, hey, how do we do that? That's all just working with us. That's not a paid engagement. That's us just talking to you about that option, scoping out what it would look like to run your workloads in Azure, and then scoping out, how much services engagement you would want. So that wouldn't technically follow under our advisory services. Our advisory services are going to be more of, hey, we've got this on-prem infrastructure, or we're running our infrastructure in the cloud, or we're helping you out with your O365, and you want us to monitor that side and let you know if anything's going on that side. Let's say a good example is you have an on-prem infrastructure with VMware or Hyper-V, and you get our Davenport Group Care Advise. That's an advisory service. That's us monitoring and proactively helping you maintain that infrastructure. So we'll let you know, if there's if there's a service ticket that needs to be open for some type of incident. We'll also meet with you quarterly basis. That's an engineer meeting with you on a quarterly basis to do a health check of the environment. That's also saying in that quarterly meeting, hey, your firmware is a little out of date. Why don't we set up a time to upgrade your firmware? That's all that's included in that. That's a great example of our advisory services, where it's not only monitoring, but also kind of proactively meeting with you. But the difference between advisory and co-manage is co-manage, we're kind of doing some of that stuff on our own and just letting you know we're doing it. So does that answer your question, Lonnie?
Sure did. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
Perfect. I love talking about moving people to the cloud now. So it's a lot of fun. I think me personally, I think that's kind of where we're at, where a lot of us in the IT industry thought we were going to be 10 years ago and said, oh, everybody's moving to the cloud, we're done. I think over the next, this year, over the next 5 years, that's primarily what is going to happen. But get ready for it. So any other questions? See, we have some in the chat.
It looks like there's a lot of questions, Ben,
Yeah.
around asset disposal, and I'm guessing if people are interested in asset disposal, they're probably interested in secure asset disposal as well. Network equipment and switches doesn't necessarily need to be secure disposal. As far as buyback goes, generally speaking, Davenport Group ourselves don't often have opportunities to do buyback unless it's in conjunction with a program that one of our manufacturers is offering. For instance, if you're replacing an old SAN with a new SAN, our two major storage partners, Pure Storage and Dell Technologies, quite often will have buyback programs, whether it be loyalty buyback, buying back their own brand of asset, or competitive swap out. They'll offer incentives for competitive swap out, and sometimes there'll be the buyback as included as part of that. So as far as buyback of non-storage assets, that's probably something more about Nick's team that can assist there. When it comes to secure asset disposal, and there's a variety of ways that you can go about secure asset disposal, particularly I'm thinking about, spinning hard drives or SSD drives. We have a variety of services. Tell us what you've got, what you need, and we can find which is the most appropriate service. In some cases, it's going to be erasing the storage media to a Department of Defense military spec standard, and then providing, as part of that service, providing the all-important certificate of erasure. That's really, really important to be able to say that, this serial number of this Seagate drive was erased to this standard on this date, and we certify that this was done, and that gives you a certain level of indemnification if that data ever is found exfiltrated and turns up somewhere. You can say, I took all reasonable precautions. In some cases that's not an option, and the only option in some cases is media destruction, and we provide media destruction services as well. We try. The whole world is trying to get away from destruction as much as possible. Don't destroy it unless it needs to be destroyed, because of the fact that literally there are valuable components on all media nowadays that can be recycled. So erasure is preferred over destruction, but if destruction is necessary, we can assist.
Yeah.
I hope that's helpful in addressing those questions.
Perfect. Nick, did you want to take that question we have in there that talks about how does lease pricing compare to purchasing?
Yes, great question. So in terms of lease pricing, so operating leases, I would say by and large, so if we're doing kind of a rent and return type lease structure, inevitably we're pricing in something that's called a residual, right? If anyone's ever leased a car, they see kind of what's the anticipated dealer value after 3 years. The same is very much true for computer and networking and IT assets. So I would say by and large, you're going to get the greatest kind of benefit of that residual somewhere in the 36 to 48 month range. After 48 months, an operating lease doesn't make sense, but assuming you're doing, say, just a quintessential 3-year computer rental lease, when you run kind of the present value calculation over the lease payments and the terms and all that, you're paying about 85 to 90 cents on the dollar than compared to purchasing the equipment just by renting it. So if you're already flipping assets every 3 years, leasing is an incredibly viable option, very much like, if you're buying a new car every 3 years, that's very advantageous. If it's over 4 years, 4 years is kind of the break even where it's a toss up between renting and owning. Again, over 48 months, I encourage every client that, you might as well own this, and then you have full autonomy if you want to run it, 5 years, 5.5 years, etc. That's where it really doesn't make sense, and you're better off just finance to own. Obviously, just 100% financing, there's interest expense. So any interest above just the purchase price or the invoice price is going to be your carrying cost. But the rental operating leases are probably the most attractive, where you're paying less than it would cost to buy. So,
and if somebody does an operating lease for like 3 years with y'all, they have still the option to buy out that lease, right? And like own the equipment if they choose to do so.
Absolutely. And we even have a cherry picking provision. So if you're leasing 100 computers, you can choose to buy the 10 best ones, send us the other 90 that are all beat up. So, yeah.
You're the options man. You got plenty of options, that's for sure.
I love options, so we love to give options.
Perfect. And so we're kind of winding down here. Did we have any additional questions? I mean, obviously your account executive is going to be following up with you about this webinar, see if there was any details in it that you want to specifically dive deeper into. So feel free to connect with them. We just covered the surface here, and we wanted to make sure you got a good understanding of how we can help you stretch that budget this year with these crazy pricing that I'm seeing on a daily basis. So, let's connect and have a follow-up meeting. And with that, if we do have that follow-up meeting when your account executive reaches out, we're going to get you a $50 Lowe's or Home Depot gift card, just as a thank you for having that meeting and letting us, know where we can help you out, because I know we can. But also, you're getting a gift today. So thank you for attending and listening to us today. I hope this was very helpful for you to get a really good understanding of everything that Davenport Group can do in this unprecedented time of price increases and still that an overwhelming demand of cybersecurity, infrastructure, workloads, cloud applications, managing all that. So thank you so much for attending today. We're going to get you a Darden Group gift card and go have a meal with your family and enjoy that time on us. So thank you again for the time today. Ben, Nick, myself, will all hang on here for a little bit if you have some additional questions. But for those that don't have any questions, feel free to drop. And again, really appreciate the time today. Hope you're all staying warm out there, especially tomorrow. I know there's going to a lot of coldness happening throughout the country. So appreciate it again. Y'all have a good rest of your day. Thank you. Yeah, Ben, you were kind of going over some of our services offerings there. In that I always talk about, like, you got to have MFA, you got to have end user protection, and you got to have solid backup. So thank you for hitting on those things. But yeah, we're going to hang on here if anybody has any questions.
Yeah, it's an amazing world we live in. Even MFA, many MFA solutions have been proven to be penetrable now.
Yeah.
And they're not easily penetrable, but they definitely are, particularly ones if the MFA method is using SMS texting and sending a code via SMS text. There've been some pretty stunning cases of man-in-the-middle attacks on the two-factor authentication there.
Hey, don't watch Mr. Robot. That'll scare the ever-loving crap out of you.
The one thing that can't fail, you cannot afford to have your backups fail. That's what I tell everybody. You'd better have best in breed backups, and they'd better be good, and they'd better be an isolated copy.
Yeah, for sure. Well, if there's no questions here, we're going to go ahead and close out the webinar. Again, really appreciate everybody's time today. Thank you for everybody joining. I'll be following up with some folks that are in my area, but also your account executives in your area will be following up with you as well. Everybody have a great rest of your day, and God bless. Bye.